So I want to talk about standard form and how exactly we use standard form. The first thing you have to know about standard form, well, let's start to understand the x and y axis first. That's what we need to do. This here is called the x-axis. And any point on the x-axis, okay, any point on the x-axis, so let's say here, or here, or here, or here, or here, has something in common. And that something in common is going to be more apparent if we look at the actual point. Okay, so all the way to the left over here, the coordinate of this point is -4, 0. This point coordinate is -2, 0. This point is 1, 0. This point is 2, 0. And this point is 4, 0. So if we're looking at it, we can clearly tell that all of them have one thing in common, and every time the y-coordinate turns out being 0. So that means any point along the x-axis has a y-coordinate of 0. So if I'm trying to find the x-intercept, or where it crosses the x-axis, that's always when my y value equals 0. Let's look at this axis real quick. This is our y-axis. The y-axis also has something in common. Let's look at this point, this point, this point, and this point. Right? From my origin, I don't move left or right, so my x value is 0, 2, 0, 1, 0, -1, and this one is 0, -3. So as you can see, all of these have something in common, and that's that the x values on the y-axis are always 0. So when we're trying to find our y-intercept, we can set x equal to 0, and we can solve. Now, this is standard form. And pay attention, because we are going to use what we just talked about in just a moment. Standard form looks like this. ax plus by equals c. Now, every line has an x and a y. But if you're given something in standard form, there will be an a value attached to the x and a b value attached to the y. Here's an example. 3x minus 2y equals 12. My a value here is 3. My b value here is -2. So it's just the coefficient in front of the x or the y. When I'm looking at this particular form, it's helpful to find my x and my y intercepts, and then I can plot the points on the graph and draw a straight line between them. So how do we find our x and our y intercepts? Well, from before, when I talked about our x and our y intercepts, anytime that my y value is equal to 0, I'm going to be on the x-axis. So if I want to find my x-intercept for this, I just have to let y equal 0. So 3x minus 2 times 0 equals 12. Well, 2 times 0 is just 0, so that cancels out. So we got 3x equals 12. We will divide both sides by 3 to get the x by itself, and we get x equals 4. So my x-intercept is when x equals 4 and y equals 0. Right over here, 4, 0. That is my x-intercept. If I want to find my y-intercept, I would apply the same thing that I just talked about, but this time we're going to look at the y-axis. Okay? So when I'm on my y-axis, remember the x value is always going to equal 0. So I'm going to rewrite that problem from before. Three x minus 2y equals 12. And now, because I'm trying to find my y-intercept, the x value is going to be equal to 0. So everything else comes on down. In solving it, this cancels. I get negative 2y equals 12. And to solve for our y-intercept, I divide by negative 2, and I get y equals negative 6. So when x equals 0, y equals negative 6. So I go back up here, and I'm going to have to draw a few more dashes. But our y is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 6. So this is x is 0, y is negative 6. And I got 2 points. Once I've got 2 points, all I need to do is draw a straight line through. And now I have my line graphed. If I wanted to figure out what the slope is, I could just count. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 over 4, which reduces to 3 over 2 is my slope. That means I could have gone up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, and there's another point. So standard form can help us to get those x and y intercepts, and we can easily